Hi people, I am reviewing the newest Fort Point variant, which is El Dorado dry hopped. They've used El Dorado for years at Trillium, and they've made their Sleeper Street IPA featuring that hop, but never done one of their Fort Point series with it. This was canned May 31st, so 5 days ago. Super fresh, 6.6% alcohol. Just like all the other Fort Points, you can look up what they got in them, but it's pretty standard IPA bill for Trillium. And yeah, Fort Point is basically an IPA. It's 6.6. It's pretty hoppy. So El Dorado seems to be kind of a many-faced hop to me. Sometimes I think it's strawberry, sometimes melon, sometimes pine, sometimes lime, sometimes all of that. And there aren't too many breweries that are featuring El Dorado as the main hop. Of course, there's Columbus in this beer, but that's kind of the supporting character, adding some bitterness. And I've enjoyed Sleeper Street, their IPA featuring it. I'm expecting this to be pretty good. I don't think this one uses the new fermentation profile. Yeah, it doesn't look quite as dense and hazy as some of their beers where they've been doing something different with the yeast. And they're turning out a little bit, even hazier than this, surprisingly, and a little bit more oily and intense hop resin. But this is definitely still hazy. But I can see the shadow of my finger through it. It's not murky. I wouldn't say it's like that. Looks pretty good, and I'm smelling, I guess a lot of times it's Jolly Ranchers, mixture of Jolly Ranchers, everything from the bag. That's what I get from El Dorado. Yes, strawberry, melon, lime, pine, it's got all that. But I feel like depending on how the beer is brewed and what other hops are in it, sometimes it can be really piney and limey and almost seem more old-fashioned, especially if you get a beer that's not super fresh with El Dorado, but this one's crazy fresh. So yeah, it's got the melon. Yeah, it's got everything I basically said beforehand. All those fruit flavors, along with a hint of pine, but not enough to make you think it's like West Coast or like has Centennial notes or anything. Centennial is like way too sappy for this. But people don't go crazy for El Dorado. Plenty of people just aren't a big fan of it, but I enjoy it quite a bit. Has more body than I expected, but it is really interesting limey piney flavor overall. It's almost close to lemon drop hops, and it has like a lozenge type quality, like it's herbal, deep dank herbs, almost like pine mixed with a citrus, but with lemon drop hops, it reminds me of like Ricola cough drops, which I don't really want in a beer. This one's more like lime and what is that herbal quality? Lemongrass, I guess? It's escaping me right now. It's not too peppery. Maybe it's like a very light oregano-y type herbal thing. Not as grassy and like moist as sage or something. No, actually thyme. Thyme is a better descriptor, now that I think about it. It reminds me of thyme, not quite rosemary, which is really, really piney. Thyme can be earthy and grassy, but also kind of a little bit fruity. I really like thyme, and I feel like that's what describes this a little bit better than pine. It's like Jolly Ranchers and thyme. That's what's happening with this beer. And in terms of the body and sweetness and all that, it's really, really fruity, has that nice herbal bite. Pretty medium full body. Not super cream or anything. It is, of course, a little bit juicy. It's Trillium. But it finishes really clean. Just a lingering light spiciness. Enough sweetness to make it really, really fruity, but then it dries out pretty well. and the yeast finish is really clean. There's no weird lingering flavor or anything like that. Minimal throat burn, at least at this point. But that's what I have always loved about Trillium, is their yeast is so expressive, brings out all these great flavors from the hops. But then there aren't weird diacetyl-like problems. There aren't like DMS problems. There aren't just weird chalky problems, unless you get like things that are just ridiculously dry hopped. But the yeast is just never causing problems. The yeasts, even though this is like with the old-fashioned yeast profile, I've always loved their yeast, and they're only bringing out more intense flavors with their new yeast profile. But even with the old style that they do it, I love it. And this one doesn't have the cotton candy, taffy, like, I guess there's a little bit of a juicy fruit, but sometimes, especially with beers, these hazy beers from Trillium and other places, where they use Citra or Mosaic, often brings this like crazy fruity sort of Smarties, cotton candy, almost bubblegum thing. This doesn't have that. I feel like El Dorado is a different kind of hop, where the yeast brings out different things from the hop and they interact differently. It's much more of like a Jolly Ranchers hard candy type thing, but full of interesting flavors: berry, citrus, melon, and then that thyme like herbal quality that's really nice. I would give this 4.25 at least. It's extremely pleasant. But that's how I feel about most Trillium beers, especially when they're done pretty well. Has a nice lacing there. But yeah, at least 4.25. I'd recommend it if you're a fan of, berry, melon, strawberry, and all that stuff in a beer, especially if you like El Dorado. It's worth trading for, and it's really good right now. Very good beer.